Hi, and thank you for joining us for episode 10 of Just One More Project Bag, hosted by me, Dana of Unwind, and
I'm Tiffany, the project bag all over the internets.
yes, you can check out my original epoxy tumblers at unwindoriginals.com or my Color Straight Nail Polish strips at Tiffany's affiliate link. Which is linked in the show notes. I won't try to say all that out because it's just a lot of letters. And then check out Tiffany's project bags on Etsy at theprojectbag.etsy.com. So, dude, we have both been through the ringer since the last time we recorded. It's kind of amazing. I mean, and you and I have not, like, we've gone longer stretches without talking lately just because of being so busy and having like all the drama that's happened for both of us. So yeah, I feel like it's a good chance for us to catch up. Everybody's just going to get to witness it.
That's right.
So as you can see, I am outside at my house. We tried to let Tiffany be outside, but internet wouldn't reach. So she's inside her kitchen where she normally records. So
it's interesting because I can stream football games back there. I mean, I have a booster. I mean, my house is not that big. It's not like I've got a west wing or anything. But I wonder if that's what it is. You think?
What on earth was that?
I don't know. That's weird.
Sorry if you saw that. We have a meeting with some friends in a little bit, and I think maybe somebody tried to hop on early.
It said Christopher's iPad. Does he have an iPad?
My husband doesn't have an iPad, so that isn't my Chris.
Oh, okay.
That's probably Abby.
Oh well.
Actually, no, that's Kristen. That's Kristen's
son. Okay.
Anyway, all right. So
you wanted to join the podcast today.
Yeah, it would be an unintentional guest star. All right. Anyway, so probably Zoom just takes up a crap ton of bandwidth. Like anytime we've tried to record while like Chris is even working and on his work stuff downstairs, like my bandwidth starts having a hard time, and we're on fiber optic. So Zoom is just like a real bandwidth vampire. So anyway, what are you knitting on?
Okay, the only thing I've got going right now is just my socks that everyone's seen a couple different times now. But I'm getting there. This is sock number 2. And I've got to look up the information about it because I don't remember precisely the yarn. It is the Psychedelic Sheep Bogus sock is the base, and A Dark Day's End is the black with the little blips of color. And then Cabernet was the coordinating solid.
Nice.
That came with it. And so it's just my standard 56 stitch sock with the garter stitch short row heel that Dana's converted me to. I really like it. I don't even have to, no, okay, that's a lie. I was gonna say I don't even have to look it up anymore, but yes, I do pretty much every time, but it's because I just don't do it often enough.
Yeah.
But once I see it, done once, then, and I can read the stitches now. I don't have to use a counter anymore.
No.
But this is sock number 2, and I've just been working on it here and there, but I've picked it back up this week because I worked, and during nap time it was an easy project. I didn't have to have a lot of light to work on.
You were in pre-K this week, weren't you?
I was in pre-K, and so they nap for an hour.
Such babies.
So that was now yesterday I was doing some tasks for the teacher, but the other days that which is fine because I just like to stay busy doing something. Okay. Otherwise I will fall asleep. I'll crawl up on some 4-year-old's cot and tell them to share the blanket.
Yeah, that is a legit reason to take a nap. I mean, it's hard to stay awake in a room full of people who are asleep.
Yeah, right. It's nice and quiet and
like I've got to have my knitting so I can stay awake. Well,
so that's all I've got. What about you?
I have gotten, and it's going to look like a blob because I joined it in the round, but this is Madeline's Snowflake pullover. This is Tin Can Knits. It is a from the Great White North ebook. You can kind of see snowflake motifs. So it's got a just slanted lace motif on the shoulders, and then it's got snowflakes across the chest, and then on one shoulder it buttons down the shoulder as just like a decorative motif. For babies it's actually useful, but for adults or kids I think you sew it down. But this is my yarn. This is my DK weight in a virtual vacation, which was one of a colorway that I did as an exclusive for the Hilton Head Island store, Needlepoint Junction. And then the body will be in hot pink. So
Beautiful.
it's
She's
going to
gonna
be
love
really
it. You
fun.
know that you're making it?
Yeah, she knows. It's really funny. I think I've knit too much stuff for her lately because I was like, so this is your sweater. And she's like, yay, thanks.
Might be her age too, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
Not
she
as
still
enamored.
gets like jazzed up about knitwear, and I just realized I left the hat inside. Oh well, the hat I finished. It's in there. I'm not going to go in there and get it. It's too much work. They can go look at show notes. But the other thing I'm working on, I did start working on the quadri hat again, and I got a few repeats done on it last night. It's not super far down, but yeah. So this is the quadri pattern by Michelle Wang. It is a paid pattern, and the yarn is Plucky Knitter in, I know the colorway is called Tiny Bubbles, but I don't remember what base it is. It may be Primo. I'm not sure. It's been a hot minute since I bought it. I think I bought it 4 or 5 years ago. And I initially cast that hat on 4 or 5 years ago. And even though my project page is new, because I had deleted the project page because I think I had like lost it and was like, oh, well, I'll just delete it out of my projects. So it's actually like a 4 or 5 year old whip at this point. So if I
Is
can
it?
get it done by the end of the month, I guess technically, even though I can't win prizes, it'll count for our knit along.
Yeah, true. Right.
Yeah.
Is it bands of ribbing and cables? Is that what the?
It is, it's bands of ribbing and cables, and then stuff starts moving around. Like it's
Okay.
traveling cables, and it makes like this big, like, it looks like the magic mirror from Snow White
Okay.
section with like patterning inside of it. It's a really pretty hat. It's very like stylized looking. I have loved that hat since I first saw that pattern come out forever ago. So I'm excited that I'm finally going to have it done. So
Yeah.
I was cleaning out an old project bag, a bag of bags, and I found it and I was like, so that's where that went. So yeah. But that's pretty much that's what I've got going. It's just those two things as far as knitting. And I haven't touched my shrug or any of the rest of that stuff that I've been working on. Hadn't touched any of that.
Yeah.
Post op was a lot rougher than I expected, so I didn't do anything for many days. So
Yeah. Same. I didn't have surgery, but I had extended illness, and it was awful. There was several days that wanted to knit, but there was just absolutely no energy to give it.
yes.
But and that's me. I just finished the few baby things, and I just haven't cast anything back on just because of working and Michael
Yeah.
coming to the hospital and just all that. It's just been a busy week.
So as far as my finished things, you have one of them in your possession and the other one is inside.
I do. Yeah.
Um,
In my drawer though. I didn't
Yeah.
bring them.
So I knit a pair of socks for Tiffany for her birthday. It was the yarn I showed last time, the There's a Little Witch in All of Us yarn by Mint Rain. And I knit Tiffany just a pair of shorties out of that for her birthday, and they fit her beautifully.
They
And
do.
I'm super excited that she likes them so much because she's knit me either 2 or 3 pairs of socks in the course of our friendship. And I don't think I've ever knit you a single pair before. I think this was the first time. So that was exciting. So I finished those, and then I finished the sugar maple hat, which was out of Yarn Geek Fibers Prodigy DK in the Sylvia Earle colorway. And I really love the way she names her colorways because she names them after famous female scientists that made big contributions to scientific research. So Sylvia Earle was a marine biologist. So this yarn is really pretty. It's like bands of light turquoise with like a section of like white and lime green and orange speckles. And it was so perfectly dyed. And I normally really don't like pooling, I'll be honest, but it was so perfect with the stitch count, the way it spiraled, it looked intentional. and I just loved it. And so I finished that hat for Madeline and I put it up for Christmas. So she has a hat coming at Christmas she doesn't know about. So that's exciting.
Yay.
Apparently that's all I'm doing is knitting for my kid right now, except for the Aubrey hat.
Well, it's quicker anyway.
It is. Although I will tell you, I'm gonna have to start backing up the start of her school picture sweater every year now because
Yeah,
it's gonna
started
take
in August
longer and longer.
or
Of
something.
course, I know there will eventually come a year where she doesn't want one, and then I will be broken on the inside and very sad. But yeah, as of right now, she is still willing to be photographed in things that I have made. So
Take it while you've got it.
I will. I will. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for me. So you finished all three of your baby projects.
I did. Got the whole set, and I'm waiting to hear back from the mom so that I can. I need her address so I can mail it to her. But I did the baby booties. I think I had cast them on the last time, but they're from Burnett. The pattern's Burnett. They're knit flat and then seamed. And when I looked at my projects, I think this is the fourth time I've made these, but they're just called baby shower booties to knit. But then there's also a baby shower booties to crochet. And just did some I-cord. I think the pattern calls for you to maybe crochet a chain, but I did I-cord 16-inch ties. And so that's that. The baby sophisticate is the sweater.
Mhm.
And then this hat is called Cedar Hat. And
I love that pattern.
the the instructions, the chart has you, if you want the darker color dominant, there's a separate chart, or if you want the lighter color dominant, there's a separate chart for that. So and I believe, I want to say that it starts at newborn, and I want to say maybe it goes all the way up to adult size.
I like that. I love that graphic pattern. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you know, babies really, I actually just had this conversation the other day. Babies love high contrast. They see that better when they're little. So that's like a really awesome thing to do that for a baby project.
Yeah, well, and originally when I was looking at the projects that have been made with this, I liked the darker dominant, but it was my thought that, you know, I wanted the sweater to be the focal point of the whole set. And so it was darker.
It looks balanced. I mean,
yeah,
honestly, it looks balanced. You've got some jazz, you've got a very sophisticated sweater, and then you've got sweet little booties. I think it's a good set. It's great.
Yeah, thanks. Well, it wasn't until I photographed it that I realized that it's Penn State colors. And ironically, the grandmother is a Penn State grad. And so mom is a mountaineer, West Virginia mountaineer, but I don't think she'll mind. I just really like it's classy. And like you said, the contrast too.
People that are not huge sports ball fans.
Right. Well, that's true.
Do not get offended by color combinations the way that sports ball fans do. Now, I will tell you, you know, you roll up in here in Florida blue and orange, and I'm going to be like, what is wrong with you? But, you know, and I'm not a big sports ball person, but I also never put my kid in orange and white.
Oh, yeah. Was it forced upon you when you were little or no?
It was really funny. Okay, so quick story. My aunt didn't know what to do with me. She doesn't have children, and she doesn't particularly like them, and she didn't particularly like me. But one day she decided she was going to take me shopping in Knoxville, which was kind of a big thing because that's like a 45-minute drive from my parents' house to the mall and then back. And I was like 3. Like, that's kind of a weird, like, let's go for broke. We're going to go to Knoxville and go shopping for 6 hours. So she wanted to take me shopping. So she took me to Sears when we got there. And she realized quickly that you don't let a small child ride an escalator because they really enjoy it and they want to do it a lot.
You do it over and over.
So we did it over and over and over for about 30 minutes. And then finally she got me to walk around with her, and they had this big bin of little basketballs, and they had UT basketballs and then Kentucky basketballs. And I don't know why it was just those two, but I specifically remember those two. And I love blue. I've always been a blue person. And I was like really wanting a Kentucky basketball. And she got really offended at me because she's a UT breath. Like she's like assigning all this meaning to me picking a blue basketball. So yeah, we still have a joke about me and the Kentucky basketball. And then I ended up moving to Kentucky, not to go to school, but I ended up moving to Lexington. So it was like, then I was surrounded by Kentucky blue and I was like, but yeah, that was just always a funny thing. My mom was like, you messed with her head that day. You got that Kentucky basketball. I'm like, that's great.
Well, there is an ESPN reporter that does the SEC Nation podcast, like in the mornings before the games and stuff, Laura Rutledge. And they've got this segment where her little girl, who I believe is like 1.5, 2 or something like that, chooses the football helmet of the team that she's projecting to win the game that day or whatever, the big game of the day. And so, yeah, she's running on their patio and she goes and she just grabs whatever helmet, So
funny. That's about as accurate as sports betting most of the time.
You're right.
That's
yeah, very familiar with over unders and the spread. No, I don't understand a word of it. The parlay. I just hear these terms. I have no idea what they mean. I have not.
That is unfortunately something because of my estranged father that I know a lot about. So if you ever actually do want to learn, I can teach.
Okay.
I know a lot about it, unfortunately.
But anyway, yeah, because I remember, was it Into the Wool a couple of years ago? I picked up a color combination and I said something about, I might make this. And you were like, those are Auburn colors. Like, you can't do that.
As a diehard UT fan, I think that you would end up being very upset with yourself if you ended up inadvertently knitting another SEC team.
Well, here's the thing. I enjoy Auburn basketball because I love their coach. So I actually do follow an Auburn podcast simply so that I can.
I'm going to reserve what I want to say right now about Auburn.
Well,
no, I've got some good friends who went to Auburn and they're fantastic people. They're fans as a whole. I can't handle their fans. I just can't. Oh, well, I think we all feel like that about each other down here, especially if you grew up down here and you grew up with the intensity that I grew up with, because I grew up really close to Knoxville and my entire family's UT grads. So I'm the oddball, not, but yeah. We all of us pretty much. Chris's mom didn't, but Chris's dad's got a degree from there. Both of my parents, my grandparent of my, both of my parents, my husband, my aunt, my uncle that died, they all have degrees from there. So it's like we've all, I'm indoctrinated, but yeah, but down here it's different because we're so close to Alabama and Georgia. There's almost equal numbers of those fans down here. So it's not as rabid on game days down here, but Knoxville is like its own nation.
Saturated. Yeah.
Yeah, it's its own nation on game day. Like, I don't know. It always made me nervous to go to a game for a rival wearing my team's colors. I mean, that made me nervous in high school. I don't know. People just act so unpredictably.
Well, I mean, that's valid because last weekend, I believe there were 2 fights at football games.
There was a shooting at one too, and I don't remember which school it was, but there was a shooting in the parking lot.
Oh, wow.
Afterward.
No, I didn't. Yeah. I didn't read that, but like,
they were celebrating outside of a game and the opposing team's fans came over and somebody had a gun and shot a couple of people. Yeah, you got to watch it. Tensions are so high in the world right now. I don't know. I'd probably like show up wearing black and like not be visibly supporting anybody.
Somewhere, I can't remember if it was I don't know. I saw this meme of this girl in a football game and it just says, I hope both teams have fun or something like that. Like, it just was very non-committal. She was probably just being dragged along with someone.
I saw this whole thing about like football in the South versus football everywhere else, and it was like what you take to the game, and like everywhere else was like girls take a chapstick and a 20 in their front pocket, and girls in the South take like their entire makeup bag plus a cordless curling iron in case they need to touch up their hair mid game.
And like all out there
crazy stuff. I know, but it was just super funny. It was like, people in other places are like show up for the game an hour before the game and have to find out where the parking lot is, and people in the SEC show up 3 days ahead of time with the big pig smoker. That is SEC. It is a way of life down here. And it is always a shock for people who are not from here. They're like, what? Have y'all lost your minds?
Yes. Right. Yeah.
We lose our minds every September.
Well,
you're ready.
Ole Miss, where they have, full on chandeliers and real china for their tailgating.
Yes. I mean, I'm sure there are probably people that go to Tennessee games that do that kind of stuff too, but mercy. Well, anyway, let's move off of football, since we just totally chased some orange and white checkerboarded rabbits there for a couple of seconds. All right. So what's incoming for you?
The only thing that I intend to start next is it's called the Eyelet. Let me see, because I don't remember.
Is it Lace Eyelet Cow? Is what you have written?
Lace Eyelet Cow, with some Arkansas Yarn Company minis from Into the Wool. A couple of years ago. They're pink. They're sparkly. I think I have 3 or 4 of them.
Fun.
And it's enough to make the because they're generous size minis. I want to say they're 92 yard minis. So
are they 20 grams?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, the sparkle ones are 92 yards.
And
crazy brain strikes again. Remember all those things still.
Yeah, it's crazy what sticks in there. So like I said, I think I have 3 or 4 of them. It's definitely enough to make this cowl. It's basically what it sounds like. It's just a triangle shaped. I mean, they call it a cowl. It very well could just be triangular shaped shawl. Also, I cannot remember. Let me click.
Is it joined?
It might be joined. That very well could be.
I like those. Like it's like a scowl. I like those.
It's been in my queue for a while. Yeah, it says in the round, so that's exactly what it is. It's joined at the neck. And I've had it slated to use these minis with because it was the perfect amount and, something basic. So that'll satisfy a Crafty Bingo square for using a pattern from my queue, I think is what the square it is. I only have 3 or 4 more squares to fill in before I'm blacked out.
Awesome.
Baby steps.
Actually was going through last night thinking I haven't updated that in a while, and I was actually able to cross off like 2 more squares, so I'm doing better.
This pattern is by Stephanie Canich, and it is a $4 pattern purchase on Ravelry.
Cool. Well, I'm just leaving mine the same as last time because I didn't start them yet. I do intend to, though. The Rainbow Adventure mitts from Telly Bean Knits, which they are actually available in her book. I don't think they're available separate yet, but her book is Knit Happy with Self-Striping Yarn. We actually reviewed it a couple of episodes back if you want to go back and check that out. But I've got a skein of Mint Rain called Anything is Possible If You've Got Enough Nerve. And I plan to knit those for Madeline with the flip top. So they'll be mittens, but they'll be also fingerless mitts. So my intention is to make those for her for Christmas. She's going to get a bunch of knitwear this year.
That works.
Yes. She really likes it, and she's getting better about hanging on to it. So yeah, good stuff.
Maturing.
Yes, a little bit. So Maker's Moment, Tiffany, as she said, was battling a pretty major illness. So she doesn't have anything this time, but I've got one thing that I will show you guys. So I got myself a backpack for post-op because purses and a walker or purses and a cane. So I got a fall robin and I've started embroidering around the logo. And then I've got this big pocket I can cover too. So that's going to get done. But I'm doing like definite motifs up here. And then I think I'm going to go abstract on the pocket and do like some oceany looking waves and stuff. So story on this, I bought it from this site that looked legit, but I think maybe it actually wasn't. And it didn't ship and it had been like a month. And so I filed a case through PayPal just to get them to try to give me a tracking number because I knew it was coming from overseas. Well, within 15 minutes, PayPal had refunded my money because apparently this company had so many cases out against them that they're just not even investigating them anymore. But then, like 3 days after that, I get a shipping notice telling me that this thing is in the country. And I'm like, what? Like, but there was no way for me to get in touch with the company, which is why I filed the PayPal thing in the first place. And that should have been a big red flag. If a website doesn't have a contact us button with a legit like contact us email or form or something, be aware it's probably a scam. Just my PSA for today. So this thing showed up and obviously didn't pay for it. And I can't really go back and pay for it because PayPal already gave my money back. So it was just a free backpack. So I'm pretty sure it's a fake. Which is fine because it was free and it works good for my purposes. So I'm not really that worried about it being a fake, but the logo's just a little bit off.
I didn't realize that it had straps, like handles, as well as.
Yeah, it actually is pretty cool. It's got this
Yeah.
thing you can actually corral your straps with.
I
And
see.
then this one, you can snap these down, like tighten them up, and they have snaps up here. Like it's built
Keep 'em out of the
exactly like
way.
the real thing. That's the thing. So it's like, it's kind of hard to tell, but like there's a couple of things about the logo that are just not quite right. So yeah, it's all
Maybe
right.
it was seconds. Like
It
maybe
carries,
it's
well,
fine.
I ended up finding an article that was talking about like the fact that there are a bunch of people that are ripping these off now overseas, like in China and stuff.
I see.
So if it is, it is. It's a backpack. It holds my stuff. And I didn't feel funny about embroidering on it because I didn't pay for it. And if I could have gone back and paid for it again, I would have paid for it because, I feel like, well, I got the product. I should have probably paid for it. But at the same time, if they've got that bad of a reputation for taking people's money, that PayPal would just instantly refund that money with no question, that's kind of an interesting situation to be in. But anyway, so I've been working on that. And then I've started a new cross stitch project, which I don't really want to show or talk about right now because it's not really worth looking at yet. It's just kind of blobs. And but the one thing I did want to mention is that I have a cup update next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern in my Etsy shop. And I've got, I think, 12 cups to list, and they're all either fall or Halloween themed. So please come check that out. I'll be putting up previews probably Monday so that everybody has a chance to see it before it goes live. And then I'm hoping to get back to working on cups next week. I'm still really struggling. So I don't want to try to go upstairs yet. And if I do, I need to be able to stay up there for a while and then work a long stretch and then come back down. So yeah. So I am going to attempt to open up a few custom slots. I probably will just post them on Instagram when I have time. And I'll take a certain number of custom slots for Christmas cups or Christmas or just any kind of custom work that needs to be done. And then I'll be closing that back down again because I don't want to take on more than I can conceivably finish. Because I guess I'll just go ahead and talk about this with the surgery and stuff. So my surgery went okay. The doctor was actually a little bit surprised at everything that was wrong in there. There was a lot more wrong than we knew, but my imaging was 2 years old because it was from the doctor I had been seeing before that no longer took my insurance, which is why I switched practices to the one I go to now. So he agreed based on what we saw from 2019 that I needed this done. Well, when we got in there, it was 20 times worse. And he said, it's a good thing I had it done now because I would have been looking at a catastrophic failure at one of a couple of different areas within the next few months. He said he actually didn't know how I hadn't had it happen yet, but they were able to get everything. All 4 implants went in well. Everything was replaced. They did have to detach and reattach everything. So I've been super stiff and really, really swollen. My scar doesn't look bad. It's little considering, I mean, it's long, but it's skinny. So it's not that bad to look at. And it's fully closed up now. So I get to go back to the pool next week.
Yay.
And I have a feeling that my my recovery will go a lot faster once I'm able to go in the pool and get more motion from being in that warm water with very, with moderate resistance as opposed to gravity, because gravity's pain in the butt. Um, the weirdest things that have come out of this are my appetite is now about half what it was. So I'm dropping weight like crazy because I'm eating like way less. And the nausea has been just like a surprise because I was on so many pills for so long. But the muscular pain has just been out of this world. And my hip is starting to bother me because I've been favoring it so much. So trying to like think while I walk of keep my legs straight, bend properly, no matter what it feels like, keep it bending and do strength on my thigh, try to get my thigh stronger so it can support my weight because I'm having the other one done October 18th. So I've got to get better so that my left leg can support me while my right leg rehabs. That's really the problem with doing these back to back is what should take 3 months to rehab, I'm going to have to do in 9 weeks. So, and it's been slow. It has been very slow. And I feel like I get a couple of steps forward and I end up taking a step back. Because as soon as we start pushing past a certain point, my leg's like, nope, I'm going to do that. You can't make me. And it'll do what it did last night and spasm all the way up and down, and I'll be in agony. But yeah, it looks better than I thought. And it's funny because I don't think I even told you this. Chris and I were in the living room the other day, and he was looking at me. I was standing there in shorts, and I guess I had my legs, balanced and next to each other. And he goes, "Your right knee's deformed." And I said, "I know."
I'm getting there. I'm getting
And
there.
he's like, "I never noticed that before." He's like, "When I look at it next to your new leg, your new surgery knee, and then this one," he's like, "Your right leg is obviously messed up from the back and the front." I was like, "Yeah."
Imagine what it looks like on the inside.
Like, and when they got in there, like part of my kneecap was missing in the left leg. We don't know what happened to it. It obviously sheared off at some point. My body absorbed it because it's not hanging around in there anymore. We don't know when it happened, but it had to have been in the last 2 years because he didn't mention it in June of 2019 when I had done before. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Of course, there's an implant now, so it doesn't matter that it was gone. But yeah, I can't wait to hear. My doctor's really funny. He said, "So you want to do the other one in October?" And I said, "Yeah, October 18th is a good day. It's the end of fall break. My daughter can spend the night with my in-laws, so we don't have to worry about anybody trying to get her to school that morning and all that." And he said, "Sounds good." And he gave me this little mean boy grin. And he's like, "I can't wait to see what's going on in that one." I was like, I'm glad one of us is excited about that. It's not nearly as painful as the left one. So I'm hoping that it will be better in the rehab because it doesn't have such a pain memory. But yeah, we were talking about the left one yesterday, and the PT and I were talking about it. And I said, my first injury to that knee was when I was 16. So 22 years. My body has been protecting this. So
Yes.
we're having to go against 22 years of muscle memory of the minute something hurts, everything clamps down. And we've got to get it past that point. And I'm like, we're going to try to do this in 9 weeks.
Right.
That's a tall order. But I'm grateful I did it. It already feels better in the motion. It's just the muscular stuff around it. And that'll get better in time. But anyway, so that's my health update. But yes. Okay. So in my ears, you've been listening to 10,000 podcasts?
Pretty much. I haven't, my serious illness was COVID, and it took almost 2 full weeks to feel human again. It was just laying in the bed, and I mean, to lift my arm was just so taxing, and it was awful. So I did not do much knitting. I didn't listen to anything. I had my Kindle that I laid beside me, and just to watch something.
Mm-hmm.
But even, I couldn't even focus on it really. But so no, and then since I've been feeling better, it's just been SEC podcasts, and I do have a couple of things downloaded to listen to on my road trip here in a week and a half. yeah, essentially it's a week and a half, something like that. So I'll get back to some of the murder mysteries the cozy mysteries I've been listening to.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's if anyone is interested in SEC related football podcasts, I did put a list of the few that I've well, it's probably 7 or 8 that I've been listening to that I think are pretty good and informative and entertaining and all that jazz. So that'll
Awesome.
be up in the show notes.
Well, I have been listening to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwann, which I mentioned last time. I had downloaded it, but hadn't started it. And it's a fairly long book. It's about 15 hours.
Oh
So,
wow, that's significant.
yeah, it's a long book. It's a really good one, and I really like it. So, I'm enjoying it. It's on Hoopla. And then I downloaded, and I've actually read this paper copy, but I've never listened to it. And this is one of those read by the author ones, which I love that. But it's Let's Pretend This Never Happened by Jenny Lawson. And she is a comedic writer, and she is a blogger and has been a blogger for a really long time. She has a lot of struggles with mental illness, like to the point where she has to have like a lot of like serious treatments to deal with her depression. But her relationship with her husband is one of the funniest things that I think I've ever heard, like the stuff that they do. And if you remember, there was like a thing, a bunch of knitters talked about this a while back. She has a giant metal chicken named Beyonce, and she will put it on people's porches and ring their doorbell and have it looking in their window at them. And she's like, "Bok, bok, mother." Yeah. So she does really crazy stuff all the time. And she has a thing for tiny taxidermied animals that are like dressed up like Shakespeare characters. She's an
Okay, I remember you telling me this part. I remember.
So I downloaded that off of Audible because it's read by her, and there's just nothing quite like somebody that can write that well reading their own work to you. It's just really funny. And so that's been like my 20 minutes before bed going to sleep, because most of it's very positive, despite the fact that she's talking about, she often talks about her struggles with mental illness, but so many of the stories are just really hilarious that I don't know, it's just a good thing to go to sleep to. And then upcoming, I have a book that I has started recently following the author, and it's Abby Jimenez. And she was at the center of this crazy viral picture a while back. She owns Nadia Cakes. She won a Food Network baking challenge for her cupcakes. She's won a couple of baking shows actually. But she made a cake that was supposed to be a geode that looked like lady parts.
Gotcha. Okay.
And people called her on it on the internet, and her responses were so funny. It made the post go viral. So she cracks me up, and she has like this troop of crazy dogs, and like her TikToks and her Facebook page are so funny. So she is actually a fiction writer too. She has a few books out. This
Nice.
is her most recent one. It's called Life's Too Short, and I've got it linked in the show notes. And at one point it was like $3 on Audible. So I was like, why not? $3 is worth it. So yeah, looking forward to that. And then the last thing I want to talk about, and I forgot to put this in the show notes, is if you are a 80s/90s kid like I was, and you ever watched One Tree Hill on the WB, which I did, that was one of my favorite shows. That and Smallville were like the two that I never missed. The three main female stars of One Tree Hill, Sophia Bush, Hillary Burton, who's married to Jeffrey Dean Morgan from The Walking Dead, and Bethany Joy Lenz, have started doing a podcast where they dissect each episode individually, and they are actually interviewing their co-stars or former co-stars, and they talk about like the different behind the scenes stuff that was happening during the episode, and like the different things that they remember about the show at that point. And it's just fascinating. I love behind the scenes stuff about Hollywood. I just think it's so interesting. But these three women I have a lot of respect for in general, because they have grown up, to use the silly word, but they've grown up to be really influential, smart, socially aware women. And I really have enjoyed this podcast so far. I think they're 9 or 10 episodes in to the first season. And this is back when shows had like 20 episodes a season.
Right.
So they
Everybody.
got a long way to go. And there's 9 seasons of this show. They've got a long way to go. So if you were a One Tree Hill fan, check it out. It's called Drama Queens, and you can get it on any of the streaming services. It's an audio podcast.
That's
So.
pretty neat. I'm not familiar with that show because
Oh.
we only had major primetime channels because I lived in the middle of nowhere and we couldn't get. Oh, I take that back. My aunt had a satellite dish and she lived next door. So when I was maybe 9 or 10, she got a satellite dish, and so we would go over there to watch, shows that we couldn't watch at home. But I never encountered that show. But it does sound like it would be a really neat. I mean, it's coming from the perspective of the actresses that were in the show. That is pretty cool.
And there's a lot of conversation that comes out about how overly sexualized they felt like they were as young women, and as they were supposed to be portraying 16-year-olds, and they were 21 at the time, which they all look really young anyway. But the fights they had to fight to protect themselves from what they felt like was predatory behavior, like, it's really interesting to hear what all they were going through at the time. And of course, some of the drama that they were going through in their personal lives made the news at the time. A couple people with divorces and scandals and stuff. So it's a really interesting show. And I just really like their rapport is so good. You can tell they've been friends for 20 years, and you can tell like they're really smart people that enjoy each other. And I don't know. It's just been great. That show, I think it started when I was a senior in high school.
Okay.
Because I was older when that show started, because I was older than they were supposed to be on the show. And like I was maybe 2 years ahead of where they were. Because they started their show as Dawson's Creek was finishing.
Okay.
So yeah, it was like through my college years on into adult life when I was still watching that show. I mean, 9 seasons is a long time. That's a commitment. And there's only a couple of shows I have that kind of a commitment with. So, but anyway, so what you wearing on your nails?
I have on. Is it Till We Meet Again? Is that
Yeah.
what it's called? Okay. I thought that's what it was because I also bought the ovarian cancer awareness strip,
Brave and Bold.
which this is pretty daggone applicable too for that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It's so pretty.
I've been seeing people mix those two, and they'll put the clear foundation overlay over the top of Brave and Bold. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So I put this on 2 days ago, I think it was, and yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Awesome.
And you've got on a dark color. I'm not used to seeing you in dark color.
I do. And it's like 5 days old at this point. It needs to be changed, but this is Gleam On. So since we recorded last, fall came out from Color Street. It actually came out the day after my surgery, because I was sitting there like doped up as all get out in the parking lot at Target while Chris was inside getting all my prescriptions filled post-op, trying to order all of my sets. And it all showed up, and I was like, I don't even know what I bought. I don't even know. Like, I hope I bought what I needed, and I did. It was fine. I didn't do a pre-order for once. I usually do a pre-order for my Color Street group, and I didn't that time because I was like, I don't know what's going to be happening at that point in the day. And it was really funny. They kicked me out really fast that morning. They came in at 7 and said, do you want to stay or leave? And I was like, I want to leave. And they were like, well, then get your husband here. We're going to get you out by 10:30. And they did. And it was like, it took longer for them to get me down to the car than it did for them to go over all of my post-op paperwork with me and Chris, which I was so doped up. I don't remember any of that anyway. So, but anyway, so long rabbit chase, fall dropped, and we have a new subsection of Color Street now, and these are called Prism FX. They're like a semi-opaque jelly base, and they have this glitter that's like shards instead of regular like hex glitter or round glitters, which is normal for most glitters and nail polish. This is like shards, and forgive my dry cuticles, but it is amazing. This one's called Gleam On, and it's like rainbow color glitter in there. So It is amazing. We have 4 different shades of this kind of stuff, and then we've got 23 other things too. And one of the one you're wearing is one of
Yes.
the other 23. And then 2 days ago, Halloween dropped. So we've been busy. We have 6 new Halloween styles, and they are fabulous. So loving them. But yeah, so this is Gleam On. These are 14. The ones Tiffany's wearing are 12, and there's enough in here to do nails and toes. So awesome stuff.
I'm actually got is it moonbeam or moonburst on my toes? The
Moonburst.
Moonburst, yes.
Mhm.
And it's beautiful, but it's not dark enough. I'm so used to wearing dark colors
Yeah.
on my toes that I keep looking down and I think, "Oh, it doesn't even look like I'm wearing polish." So I'm
I've had
definitely
naked toes since a couple of days post-op, and
Mhm.
I'm regretting it. That was actually one of the things they said to me at the hospital. I said, "Oh man, I wish I had toenail polish on." They're like, "Why don't you?" And I said, "Because I was told I couldn't." And they were like, "Whoever told you that is like stuck at like 5 years ago. We don't need that to monitor your O2 sat anymore." They're like, "You could have worn nail polish and toenail polish." I'm like, good to know for next time.
Right.
Um, okay. So where the wild things are, I have some Madeline stories, but you talked about your crazy month. Do you have more to add on that?
No, Brendan ended up not coming home just because Michael was in the hospital and, it just really wouldn't have been the same visit. So he's postponed his trip. And I worked all this week. Uh, and Michael came home from the hospital after 2 weeks there. So it's just been just been crazy. So no, and I had a birthday, but even that was not the same.
You did have
But
a
I did have a fire that night. My mom offered to bring me whatever I wanted, and she says, "Oh, I'm thinking Mexican," which sounded good, but I don't know. Then when it came down to it, I said, "You know what? What I really want is just some chicken McNuggets." That's what she brought me, and caramel mocha from uh, McDonald's. So anyway, she brought me dinner, and then I built a fire, and I saw a shooting star that night. So that was pretty fun.
Aw.
I don't know if I'm just more aware of them or what it is, but that's the third one I've seen in the last few years. And one
Wow,
of them, I saw two in the same night, which was really crazy.
that's
But
awesome.
anyway, so that's about all that's been happening around here. It was nice to work with little ones again. This was their first week of school ever. And so, but it was
Terrible
a
time for
great
a teacher to be out.
Yes. Well, she had surgery over the summer and she's hoping to get the go ahead to return next week. But unfortunately, yeah, she had to miss their first. They got to meet her via Zoom the week before school started
Are
for
you
them.
back next week? Are you going back next week?
No, I'm not. I'm finished for the month of September. I have to work at least 3 days a month to stay active in the subsystem.
Mhm.
And so I've satisfied that this week. Michael's got a doctor's appointment and then I'll be traveling the week after that. So, yeah, I figured I just when this job came up and it was 4 days in a row, I said
Might as
yes.
well.
Plus, it's a pretty cakewalk job, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, so it was fun, and they're sweet. It was a pleasant first week of school compared to what
Nice.
it potentially could have been. So
Yeah, for real.
that's all. That's all that's happening around here.
Well, Madeline starts soccer next Friday. Instead of doing the field where we were having it, we've actually signed her up for the program at her school. It's through the same people. It's
Mhm.
just they do it at the end of the school day on Fridays. So basically, my in-laws will just pick her up an hour later, and we can go over and watch her if we want to, but we don't have to. Like if
Yeah,
we've got
yeah,
something going on,
right.
it's
It's
fine.
covered.
But my in-laws are probably going to go watch her regardless. So somebody will be there to see how she's doing and stuff. But it's part of the school, which I like, which actually means she'll be playing with older kids because it goes up to 8 years old. So she'll be playing with slightly older children and she'll be playing at the school. So it'll be a lot less headache to try to get her, get her ready for soccer. Because Monday was just really hard to deal with for me because it was like first day of the week and we have to go back out after just getting home. It was just a pain. Um, So 3 days after my surgery, she she was like scared to get near me for the first little bit, because I mean I was in pretty rough shape and I was really doped up and everything. And she just like, she kept wanting cuddles, but she wasn't sure how to get them because she was afraid she would hurt me and all this kind of stuff. So she ended up, one day she just said like, she was overstimulated and Chris was like, just go to your room and go play for a while. And she did. And we're sitting on the couch. And then I look at him and I'm like, it's been quiet for kind of a while. And he's like, yeah. He goes up there and she had let herself into my office and had gotten a pair of scissors and cut up a skein of yarn.
You can hear the collective gasp from the
Yeah,
audience.
has never done this. 6 years old and has never done this. Knows that she's not allowed in my office, and she just justified it, I guess, in that she just wanted to kind of get back at us for the stress that was going on in the house. And she just cut up a skein of yarn. Fortunately, it was a partial skein. It wasn't a full skein, and it was something I had already made something out of, but it was a shame because I had actually pulled it out to make her something out of it. So she destroyed the ability for me to make something out of that yarn for her. So that part sucks for her. But it was a rainbow skein, and I think it was just too much for her because she cut it in like rainbow lengths.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah, Chris started locking my office door from the outside so that she can't get near it now. So that was unfortunate. Um, and she ended up having a COVID exposure last week on Thursday and Friday. Somebody's parents in her class sent their kid to school with obvious COVID symptoms and didn't get them tested. So her entire class was out this week. And it was really unfortunate because they were already out Monday due to Labor Day, and then Tuesday and Wednesday they had taken 2 of the stockpiled inclement weather days and used them to quote unquote mitigate COVID, which whatever. I'll keep my opinion to myself on that. But they ended up calling us on Wednesday at like 3:45 in the afternoon and said, oh, she has a positive exposure. She can't come back until next week. And if you want to get her tested, she can, and she's negative, she can come back Monday. You don't get her tested and she has no symptoms, she can come back Wednesday. If she gets tested and she's positive, she can't come back until the following Tuesday. And we were like, seriously? So we went and got her tested and it actually came back super fast. But because they were already out and waiting on hearing it from everybody's test, she was just virtual on Thursday and Friday. And I have to give props to her teacher because that woman pivoted. 3 o'clock, she got a call saying somebody's got COVID and everybody needs to go get tested. And then she pivoted and managed to put together 4 days worth of work packets, plan lessons, and arrange to do Zoom lessons with these kids, which she is not obligated to do Zoom at all this year. She taught them via Zoom the last 2 days, which was so nice and so beyond what was expected. And honestly, the I'm not going to call it voyeuristic, but I like knowing what's happening in her classroom. And I liked seeing her teach because I liked seeing what Madeline gets to experience every day. And I will say she's one of the best teachers I've ever seen. She's great. I mean, just she has absolute command of them. They know the expectations and they behave with her. Like, it's amazing. So yesterday they were talking about outside stuff in one of the Zooms, and they said something about, so do you have any animals in your backyard? And my child tells them that we fenced the backyard because we didn't want animals in our yard. Number one, we didn't fence this yard. We bought this house. It was already built and everything was the way it already is, except for the fact we put a playhouse in the backyard. We've made no structural changes to the house or the property. So, and I'm like sitting behind her, like trying not to be in the frame. And I just lean up and I said, Madeline, you know, that's not the case. We have squirrels, we have chipmunks, we have hummingbirds, we have other kinds of birds, we have rabbits, we have owls. And of course the teacher immediately latches on, oh, owls, what kind of owls do you guys have? And we talk about owls for a minute. Well, then she asked about inside animals. and everybody's like talking about their pets. And a lot of them had their pets like there with them. So they were picking their pet up and showing their pet to the teacher and all this kind of stuff. And Madeline tells them, well, I would show you my cat, but he's in my parents' room and that's their sacred space. And I'm
Well, that's
sacred
true.
space? I said, I leaned up once again and I said, sacred is the wrong word. It is just our adult space. And it's the only part of the house that we ask that you leave for just us adults.
Well,
And the
she's not
teacher,
wrong. It is the sacred space. And if you look at it in that context.
it just sounds like we're in there, you know, with an altar.
Yes, precisely.
It's like, no, we
Very
don't
holy.
want you in. We want one room in the house where you won't walk in on us while we're changing clothes. Like, it's not that, you know, there's anything in there we worry about her seeing or getting into. It's just, you know, there's sometimes you just want something that isn't, you want
Yeah.
something that's your own. And she's a kid that will follow you everywhere. So, you know, we just made that rule from the very beginning when she was little. And also because of the cat, because he needs a place to go to get away from her. And she knows she doesn't cross the threshold of our bedroom without permission. And there's literally nowhere else in the house except for my office now that she's not allowed to go. So, but yeah, so now Chris and I have started calling the bedroom the sacred space. She's nuts.
Well, I had yesterday we were in music, and this was the kids' first time going to music. The music teacher asked them a question. She was reading a book, and you know, she's trying to engage them. The one little boy raised his hand, and because she says, "Why do you think that he did that?" He raised his hand, and she says, "Yes," and he says, "No idea." Like it cracked me up. Oh, you just never know what's going to come out of their mouths.
There's a little boy that's in Madeline's class, and I think the two of them together are going to be trouble. They better not be sitting at the same tables. All I have to say. They were doing math yesterday, and they were working on equations, and the teacher said, "Well, what is the answer to this?" And the little boy raises his hand. She calls on him, and he says, "It's 7." She says, "Okay, how did you get that answer?" And he looks at her. He goes, "Out of my head." And she said, "But how did you know how to do it in my head?" He goes, "I learned how to do that a long time ago." And he goes like this. He goes, "That's child stuff." And I'm just sitting here like, uh-oh.
Yes, yes.
Because that's the way mine acts. So the two of them together, if they're together, they're going to play off each other, and that's going to be like super disruptive.
Well, you've got a veteran teacher. I'm sure she's seen and experienced it
And
all.
she is so calm. They will say the craziest stuff, and she just blanks her face. I mean, it's just like, boom, it's like a shutter comes down, and it just cracks me up because you know that lady's like heard it all.
Taking it
My
all.
mom was talking about it last night, and she said, I would sit there and I would say, "Well, what does that have to do with what we're talking?" Because they'll bring up something crazy.
Yes.
She said, she'd be like, "Well, what does that have to do with what we're talking about right now?" And usually it didn't. And she'd be like, "Let's stay focused on our work, and then we can talk about other things later." And she said, redirecting is like the name of the game with them until they're about 8 or 9. She said they just, you know, say the craziest stuff, and you can believe about a third of it. But yeah, that was fun. And oh, something else. And I didn't tell you this, but well, I did tell you this over text. But so I've been asked to be the parental advisor, the parental advisor for Madeline's school to the little district that we're a part of, that's part of our bigger district, and also to the bigger district. So I'm a little nervous about that. Especially since like my kid is only in first grade, but I've got meetings with the president of the PTA and with the principal next week to discuss the needs of the school and what I can best do to help support them and advocate for them for what they need. But yeah, because I just like emailed the PTA president and I was like, "I'd like to get involved. Let me know what I can do. And here's some of the things that, you know, this is my work history, you know, just like a brief one, like, and, you know, and I've organized large events, you know, and basically herded cats for years and, you know, all this kind of stuff." And apparently they were like, "Here's a mammoth job. Let's just give it to her."
She seems capable.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it because I like the idea of being able to advocate for them, because the school has had a lot of their Title I funding cut in the last couple of years. Like they went from a fairly large number to just barely over $10,000 a year for 400 students. So they need an advocate with the school board and with the district. So I'm looking forward to doing my bit. I think it's going to be fun. So, all right. Well, I guess we are up to the announcements. So check out Tiffany's party link to see the Color Street catalog, including the new our new fall collection and the Halloween collection. And just so everybody knows, the Halloween collection is limited editions. So if you don't get on there quick and get what you want, it may be sold out. The glow in the dark ghosts are already gone. They've been gone they were gone day of. They're gone fast, and they're not going to be remade. So sad panda, but the fall collection is going to be around and it will be restocked over and over. But anything limited edition collection could go at any time. So if there's something you're wanting that's holiday, definitely go check that out. My Facebook VIP group, I run specials and sales in there that I can't run outside of the group just because of Color Street rules. So you want a deal on some Color Street, definitely check that out. There's a link in the show notes. And I'm happy to send free samples. There's a link in the show notes for that too. And if you're a Canadian and want to try a free sample, let me know and I will mail you one as well, and a catalog. I have lots of those. If you use our Amazon Associates links to navigate to Amazon before making a purchase, we do get a small commission. It doesn't cost you anything. It helps us to pay for prizes and shipping, as well as our web hosting for our show notes blog, which does cost a little bit every year. Thank you for your help with this. And all of our book links in the show notes are all Amazon Associates links. If you'd prefer to just do a PayPal donation to us, we are happy to take that as well. There is a donate button on the show notes blog. And don't forget to post your third quarter projects for the Just Finish It Already Knit Along. You have to the end of this month to get those done. In order for something to count, it just has to be a WIP from before the start of 2021. So you could have cast it on New Year's Eve of 2020 and it will count. So get that in. And frogging something counts too, as long as it's from then or before. So definitely check that out, and hopefully we'll have some extra entries come in because we want to give away prizes. Yay!
Yeah, so when we record again, we'll be drawing for.
Yes, we will. And that'll be third quarter. So anything you've finished in July, August, or September will count. And I know there's a bunch of you who have finished stuff. Maybe you've just forgotten to post, but try to remember. We'd like to have a chance to give you something awesome. So, well, that's pretty much it for us. I'm starting to sweat. It's getting hot out here. I was like, wear a long sleeve shirt because it's cold. Yeah, it's not cold anymore. Yeesh. But I'm glad you're better. And hopefully our listeners are staying well and healthy and safe out there. And yeah, we'll see you at the beginning of October. It'll only be a couple of weeks. We won't wait as long next time because of when my surgery is.
Just held us up this time.
But yeah, we just had to get some stuff done. Oh, and I joined the pink.
Oh, pretty.
Yeah, it's got a nice amount of contrast. That's going to be a really pretty sweater. I'm excited. I love making sweaters for my girl. All right. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. And we hope you have a really good rest of September. And we'll see you at the beginning of October.
Yep. Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Bye.